At the end of the day, selling is transferring a feeling. If you don't have the feeling, you can't transfer it. If you don't have a good, positive feeling, dude, you're an actor. You have to sell and run your business from a place of positivity. And however you get there, God bless you. Welcome to episode 178 of the Pete Primeau Show. And I am really not this pasty. It's extra light from my monitor. So thank you very much for tuning into the Pete Primeau Show. We are with Doug Krinsky, and we will be doing Selling from the Heart. And I will get to that in just a second. Let me pay the bills first. If you haven't bought my book, Sell a Million, what are you waiting for? 101 tips for furniture and mattress store owners to sell another $1 million or more this year. And I'd like to thank my friends at the Mattress Industry Network group for sponsoring the show. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Steve. It's a great group. If you don't belong to it, it's absolutely a fabulous Facebook group. It's full of industry pros, store owners, owners of factories, sales reps, VPs of sales, store owners, RSAs. If you want to build, market, sell, and succeed in the mattress industry, hit the QR code right there and join the group. It's a great group. If you don't have to feel like you're all alone in this business, some of my best accounts at one time felt like they were all alone and they had no one to talk to. When you can talk to other store owners and form relationships with new vendors in an informal setting, it's a great way to increase your expertise and be more successful with your mattress or your furniture store. So with all of that, thank you, Doug.
Pete, happy to be here.
So
and just a quick plug right in front of me. And I do love the Facebook group. Steve and his group do a great job. I probably look at it every day. So two great sponsors.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thanks for being here. So anyone who's not familiar with Doug Krinsky, he's a longtime veteran of the mattress industry, over 40 years. Doug is the director of sales at 3Z Brands, and he's also the founder of the Ante for Autism. Joe, the finance guy, says, thank you, Doug. Yeah, thank you, Doug, for all you do for our industry, for autism. And thanks for being one of the good guys in the industry. We have lots of them. Thank the good Lord, right?
There certainly are a lot. Well, actually, a lot of them are on that Facebook page. And it's always interesting to see people you've either heard about, know of, or have known for a long time, like you, and just watch sort of how things evolve on that group. And, you hear recommendations and you hear, I need advice. And then people offer advice. And, I think it's great. So we've never had that kind of a forum before in my 42 years now. And I think it's great to have that. And it's a great opportunity to get to know people and throw out some ideas and get some great advice. So I love it.
Awesome. Awesome. So Doug, how many years in a row have you done this now?
Well, I think it's at least 3, maybe more, but, it goes on and on. I mean, you and I have known each other for so long. It's sort of hard to keep track as time goes by, how long things happen. And so I'll say at least 3 in a row. We probably did it before that, but I'll go 3 in a row. So yeah, got the turkey there. Yep.
So any of you guys, if you want to know more about what's going on with Ante for Autism, there's the website right there. Just jump on there. Look at this. Doug, I'm going to let you walk us through this.
Well, and I appreciate you. Number one, I want to say thanks to Pete and your team and Chris and everybody at your group for having me on again. This all started 17 years ago. My wife and I, we have twins, and one of the boys has autism. So I decided the one thing, since, she was a stay-at-home mom, that I could do is give back. So I tried to engage the furniture business, the furniture industry, 16 years ago with a small group of people. I wanted to make people aware of what autism was. So what we've done every year for the last now 16 years is pull together as many people as we can, other sponsors, players, just to create awareness of what autism is. We now do the poker tournament in Las Vegas This again is our 16th year doing the poker tournament, but really, 16, 17 years ago, a lot of people just didn't know what autism was. A lot of people today still don't know what it is. So the big primary driver for me is to make people aware. There's kids, there's adults on the autism spectrum. It is a wide spectrum disorder. You have kids like my son, who's now 26. He's not a kid anymore, but he's sort of in the middle, academically way behind, socially very, aware of, conversations, can have a conversation with you, but academically he'll never catch up. But it's a huge spectrum, and what I wanted to do is make people aware of folks that are on the spectrum, of their families, the help and support they need. And we want to help charities that help these families, help these kids and adults reach their potential. So I know, Pete, you're personally touched by the cause. Obviously, with my son, a lot of the co-hosts of the poker tournament, they have a son or, a grandson or a niece or a nephew or a brother that is on the spectrum, or their family's impacted by some way. And really, if you talk to some of your friends and family, you'll find somebody in your world is probably connected to autism. So that's what we wanted to do, is start with the awareness. And, we've been very fortunate. I appreciate Chris throwing up our website, but, over the last 15 years, we've raised $1.3 million. And then what we do with that money is we give it back to 5 charities every year. So this year we have 5 different charities. We do a couple every year because we like some of the things that they do every year. But every year we rotate through 3 new ones. So we have 5 great charities this year, which, I'm sure I'll talk about in a little bit. But what we do is we find charities that help either with therapies or, give you grant money or, whatever they do that's so good. We want to support them in their mission to help these families, these kids, these adults that are impacted by autism. So, there's so many things, whether it's therapy or just, they want to go to a conference, they need money to do that. There's so many things these families need. And I've lived it firsthand, but, like you, Pete, I've been very fortunate. I've worked for 3 great, mattress companies. I'm working on my 3rd one right now, that I've been very fortunate. My son will not need anything, knock on wood, going forward, or when we retire and pass away, he's taken care of. But there's so many families that won't be, and they need help right now. And that's our mission with our, 501c3 Beat Autism Now, is to provide support and help financially, as well as, if they need me to advocate for them, I do that as well. I'll help these charities. I'll talk about one real quick here, Stockhands Horses for Healing in Delaware County, Ohio, where I live. They needed to raise money for a second arena. So they're engaged in a capital campaign to raise $4 million. Well, I've started to advocate, and the state senators and state representatives in my area are going to give them, if it goes through in the next week, $900,000 toward building that arena, because he has a waiting list for all these kids with autism and other developmental disabilities that need this equine therapy to help them, whether it's occupational therapy or the physical therapy they engage in there. They need help. So I wanted to help them. So I took that upon myself to help do some of that. So we've been fortunate. I think we're going to get $900,000 to help them build that other arena, to get the waiting lists wiped out and get these kids and adults the therapy they need. So I know that's sort of a long-winded answer to your quick question, but that's what we want to do, is we want to help families, kids, adults on the spectrum get what they need as much as we possibly can. So that's kind of our mission with our charity.
That's awesome. So Chris, can you pull Scott's comment up? Scott Vaughn's comment up. Scott Vaughn from Happy Z's says, it's a great charity and love to play in the tournament with lots of pros and celebrities. Yeah, it really is. And by the way, I don't play poker. I do have an entry. So whoever wants that entry, be the first to say, I want your entry, and you will play for me. Is that okay, Doug? That's okay, right?
That's fine. It's up to each individual sponsor, and you're a big sponsor of ours. You just tell us who you want to play. And by the way, Scott, I appreciate those comments. Our event, it is a Texas Hold'em poker tournament. It is no limit, but it's a fun event. It's not heavy on the cause. I take 15, 20 minutes at the beginning to thank all the sponsors. We thank all the players for coming. We talk about, what is autism for just a minute or two, but we want everybody that comes that night. It's the Saturday night before, the summer Vegas market. We want people to relax, have fun, get to, take pictures with the celebrities that show up. They've all been great, whether it's, a guy like Jose Canseco, who was, a tremendous baseball star, or Randy Couture, who's still an actor. He acts in several Sylvester Stallone's movies, The Expendables, many, they go on and on. He was a great UFC fighter. Pia Zadora, great entertainer. Nicholas Gonzalez, great actor. You see there's a long list of some celebrities, some great poker pros that come and hang out, have fun with our event. The best of the best in terms of poker pros come. Frank, Phil Hellmuth couldn't come last year. He donated $2,000. Dutch Boyd, great guy. He's played. He's donated. Chad, Norman Chad's coming in again this year. He's one of the two big World Series of Poker announcers for ESPN. I think CBS Sports has picked it up. So all these folks come. They love interacting with the players that come and play, with the sponsors. You can ask them at any time, unless they're in the middle of a hand. They'll be more than happy to get up, take a picture with you, have a conversation with you. Jose got the juice. Yes, he did. It's funny about Jose. I've had many conversations with him at our events, but he readily admits what he did. He admits it was wrong. Obviously he got a couple rings at Oakland when he played. His brother, Ozzy, I think is coming this year, which is great. But they'll talk to you about it. They won't hide anything. They're very honest and open about it. He's written books about it. He's taken flack over it, and, I understand why, but, he's very open and honest about it. And, all these celebrities, poker pros, they'll talk to you. They're just, to me, they're average guys. They put on their pants like you and me, Pete, right, left, to wear shoes too. I mean, they're average guys. They've been very fortunate. They're blessed with their skills, or their mental ability to play great poker. Whatever it is, it's really a fun night. The first hour of the poker event, you can rebuy back in if you get busted out by a poker pro. We'll allow you to buy back into the tournament for the first hour. So we want people that come to have fun. We want to talk about the cause, but, all during the night, we have a silent auction, and, I'll talk about, Temper Sealy has donated a couple of great beds, a great Tempur-Pedic bed, great Stearns and Foster bed. They're on the website. We're silent auctioning those off. Smart Flex has donated an adjustable base. We're going to have some, if you're an NFL fan, some Raiders gear, if you want to bid on some Raiders gear. We have great trip experiences if you want to bid on those. So it's a fun night. Come out, even if you don't play poker. I know some people are tied up, at the market with dinners. Pete, I know you're always tied up, but, for the sponsors that don't play poker, please come, have fun, interact. There's hundreds of people that don't play that come, as well as the 150 to 200 players that do play. So it's just a fun time there.
That's awesome. So Doug, go back in time. Let's go, you have this idea in your head. You're not sure if it's going to work. Who was the first person that said yes to you?
It was probably, one of my longtime customers, Kokonis Furniture in Zanesville, Ohio. It was probably Randy Kokonis, who, probably at the time was one of my bigger customers, but he has a grandson. I don't know if people know Chad Kokonis' son, but Chad has a son, Sam, who I think he's probably 19 or 20 right now. So, quite a while ago, I started to mention to some of my customers, I had a son with autism, and, Randy and I have been friends for a long time. So I just started talking to Randy, some other folks in the industry, and said, this is what I'd like to do. So I actually just got on the phone and started calling casinos in Las Vegas. And I said, you've probably heard about the World Market Center. There's a furniture market out there. I'd like to run a poker tournament and do it for autism. So finally I got a bite downtown. I think it was Four Queens was the first place we had it. So Randy came. There were several people. I think Jerry Williams. Jerry Williams got involved from Box Drop.
Yeah.
So a long time ago, some of these folks I've known for a long time just jumped in and said, "How can we help?" Whether it was just playing, sponsoring, whatever it was. So it started, I think with 27 players, we raised $6,200. I think it was at the Four Queens downtown. And that's really where the ball got started. And then I met, Karina Jett came to I think the third event. She's my poker pro person in Vegas. She has connected the dots to me with, guys like Jose Canseco and Randy Couture, Norman Chad, and all the poker pros. We get all these people involved, get them engaged, whether it's friends, family, and then, there you go, my old friend, Mr. Perry. So people come to the event and just, they know what it is. It's to have fun, raise for a good cause. And, it started a long time ago and it's evolved over the years to, we'll probably have 40, 50 sponsors, hopefully up to 200 players, but it has to start somewhere. So, to answer the quick question, guys like Jerry Williams, Randy Kokonis, and I'm probably forgetting people, but let me look at my co-host to see who might have gone back all the way to the beginning. Myra Stone in Cincinnati. She has a son with autism. Mike McQuiston.
Joey.
Yeah, Joey Amato, he and his son. And quite frankly, Stu Carlitz jumped in real early. So, again, what year everybody joined, it's so tough to keep track of. But, starting, I'll jump back into Stu Carlitz. I mean, Stu's been one of those guys, I know people don't know it. He's Betting Industries of America. He's a lot of things. And, we can talk about Stu forever. But Stu's one of those guys that, what do I need to do to help? And, there was an opportunity this year that our presenting sponsor, stepped down to a lower level. And I went to Stu and I said, Stu, there's an opportunity, our presenting sponsor for $25,000. Here's what it entails. And he kind of knew it. But, he jumped right back in and he said, absolutely, put us down, Betting Industries of America. We want to be the presenting sponsor, and just I was texting last week with Phil and Jared, his two sons, with Steve Carnes. And Phil wants to play this year. Jared wants to play, and they haven't played before. So they're getting into it, both feet. So Phil's going to play. Jared's going to play. Betting Industries has their own table, which I'm sure they're going to want to be on. And we'll put a couple celebrities there, a couple poker pros there. So, go all the way back. I think it's 11 co-hosts of the poker tournament. Stu has been there forever. And now Phil and Jared are more involved than they've ever been. Even Steve Carnes, who's really not a co-host, but, Steve is involved, texting me and talking about it. And, I just love it. And, I picked up, Smart Flex, an adjustable base company, Ted Singer, who was with Liggett forever. Yeah. When he's now at Smart Flex, he just emailed me out of the blue. I want to do something. What can I do? And I said, here's the opportunity. So now he's a sponsor. Smart Flex is a sponsor. They donated an adjustable base. He wants to do more. I said, Ted, that's great. So, it's really word of mouth. I don't push hard. I'm going to refer back to your book, but, there's chapters about, sort of always have a deadline, always follow up, close the deal. I mean, all these things, that I do professionally, part of this conversation is you sort of, how do you mix it in with business? Well, you take sort of what I think is the same approach to the charity as you do business. You just follow through. You have a conversation. People want to help and they want to be engaged. They want to know what can they do to help. So Ted asked the question and I just followed up. I mean, to your book, Pete, it's just, you think it's common sense, but you have to do it. You have to execute on it. So, I was down at the Furniture First conference last month and I had 3 or 4 of their members say, what can I do to help? Well, you follow up and, you talk to them and they mix the business with sort of what I call the pleasure, but of a charity. Everybody has their charity. I'm wearing a shirt, actually the other way. So Tee It Up for Autism, that's the Kokonis Furniture Golf Outing. So they mix in their charity with their business and then they promote it to the general public in the greater Zanesville, Ohio area. They find a way to mix, and even in your book, you say, create a charity, start a charity for your business.
You did.
The public likes it. The public wants to know what you're doing that's helpful to the community. Yeah. And there's just a couple of examples of it, but, the general public likes to see that your business does good things in the community.
Yeah.
So, what your book says, what Kokonis does, what, these members do, what other, and I know there's dozens and dozens of them, the people that listen to you, follow you on the Facebook page. It's good business to be involved in your community. So,
Yeah. And more than that, and I was just super happy to see Bo in there this morning or last night. And his family has always supported this, and they continue to. Um, one of the interesting things, sometimes we get into, we're talking about how to make more sales, right? And there's all these things that you need to do, but at the end of the day, you need to have a connection with another human being. And if your heart's not right, you can't have a connection with the other human being. And one of the greatest ways to meet people is doing volunteer work or working with charities, often the same. But when you meet somebody at a charity event, it's on a whole nother level. And it's you don't do it to do more business. You do it because it's the right thing to do. But when people see your heart, they're much more likely to open up their mind to what it is you do. I mean, I've had people that didn't know what I did and asked me so what do you do? And then we have the conversation after that. But the connection it was really literally made on a heart level. What do you say?
I really agree. And actually, there's another bracelet I'm wearing here. It's another call. A good friend of mine, who I just got done golfing with last weekend. He has a daughter who's 29, I believe, came down with breast cancer. So, and I get it. Everybody has typically a charity or a cause that they want to support. And, I was talking to him, after a couple of beers playing golf, and, you just see how passionate he is about helping his daughter and helping, that's the reason I'm wearing his bracelet is it's Emma. I'm helping Emma, just if anything, just spiritually, just to know there's more people behind her fighting her battle with her, and I have one of the autism bracelets on as well. And, people see that, and you're right. It does take it to a whole nother level. And, it's like the poker tournament. I'm not heavy on the cause. If people want to talk about it, they see my bracelet or they see a shirt that I'm wearing, or they see, at the poker tournament, we hand out the little, pins for everybody. So if people are wearing the pins, they know what it is and they'll ask about it. If they don't ask about it, that's fine. Everybody, again, whether it's breast cancer, pancreatic cancer, which I'm a big fan and supporter of pancreatic cancer, Roger Magawitz's event, I'm going up there the weekend after the Vegas market. What the work they're doing is tremendous for research to, if you can just move the needle an extra month in people's lives for pancreatic cancer, that's a huge win. Yeah. So in autism, if, they can get, the therapy they need to help them reach the potential, that's what I want to do. And, I've got, this one little thing behind me here. I'm just sort of pointing to it from the Rich Center for Autism. The kids at the center made that little globe and had a little Ante for Autism on it. That's their way of showing their appreciation to me that I donate to them. So, I know our money's getting put to good use. And, whether it's, pancreatic cancer, breast cancer, whatever your cause is, be passionate about it. And, people will see that. They'll see that come through. And they, not that I promote that when I talk to people as director of sales at 3Z Brands, but, I think, if they do ask me about it, they see I'm as passionate about that or more than I am about work. And I'm pretty passionate about work like you are. And that comes through. So, I do tie them all together, not necessarily all at once, but, I think people like to be around people that they sort of like, whether it's their passion, their drive, their success, their whatever it is, they want to be around similar people. And, people like you and I guess me that are driven for success, whether it's charity, business, whatever it happens to be, people like to be around that, and I saw a lot of pictures like the Marks and Jeff and Steve and all those guys you've had on your show. They're very passionate about what they do. And I love it. I wish I could watch every episode and every show of all the podcasts. And, I just saw some from Mark Kinsley about the summit coming up. I wish I could go to that. I have a conflict. I can't go. I wish I could go to all these things or talk to all these people or be passionate with them. You just can't do everything, but I think it does come through when you have conversations, and there'll be many at the poker tournament. Then I learn about, whether it's a cancer thing, and that's really how I got to know Roger Magowitz. Is he came to one of my events, and I started going to his event a long time ago, and it's like I take my wife to that event. It's even that powerful for me that, she cries at that event. It is heavy on that cause. We're a little different, but it's amazing the work he does, and the work I guess we do. But there's so many great causes out there, but it's all about passion and try to have that come through. So I know there's a long answer there for you, but
I love long answers. Less talking I have to do. So here's a question for you. No, Hubert Walton is asking $25K to play. No, that was the biggest sponsor. And for $25K, you get, it's a lot more than just.
Yeah, you get a lot of perks with 25,000. No, it's only $200 to buy in to play. So it's
$200, Hubert.
Yeah, you can do it on the website, register, or you can do it the day of.
I'm sorry.
Love to have you there.
So Hubert, come on down. Bring $200 with you and turn it into whatever you can turn it into. I could turn $200 into zero in no time flat. That's why I don't gamble. But that is, Hubert, thank you for asking that question, because somebody else might have been thinking the same thing. So I'm really glad you asked. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being on here too. Does anybody want my ticket, my entry ticket? That means you get to play for free. If somebody wants to take my entry ticket, put it in the comments. Chris Stone will be the announcer of who wins. He's watching it. He's the producer. So here's my question for you. I've been meaning to ask you this for a long time, Doug, and we're both so busy. We just don't really get a chance to talk outside of the podcast once a year. And that's kind of sad. But what has been your biggest surprise? You've been doing this for a long time. What's been the thing that just made you like go, wow, I never expected that. That's unbelievable. I didn't know that this was going to happen. Just like an aha moment that
I tell you, there's probably a couple of them, over my right shoulder, I guess it is, this little thing from the Rich Center on Autism. And there's another one I have on the wall, also from the Rich Center. All the kids in one class. It's a school that helps kids with autism. So it's mostly little kids, but I've been up there several times. And so they sent me a little banner. It's probably about 3 feet wide, where all the kids drew on this little banner and then signed their names.
No.
So I went back up there. I think it was the next year after we donated, and did a little check presentation for them. And on a sidebar, you'll appreciate this. So Jim Tressel was the president of Youngstown State. So Jim came over, took the picture with us, old football guy, Pete. So you probably know the Tressels, but anyway, so he came over. So all the parents were there, took a big picture, and the parents came up to me afterwards and started crying, saying, "You don't know what your donation has done for us." And, then they're talking about, the therapy and the extra support they get for their kids. And so that, that outburst of support and passion and emotion from those parents, I was almost overwhelmed with their stress. So just the emotion of the parents on getting the support their kids needed, and having lived through it, I get it. But that was one. And then the final table a couple of years ago, the guy who won it donated most of his winnings proceeds back. And he asked me the question, is it okay if I donate back? Well, we say, the final 9 people at the final table, they're all going to win cash. So we want them to win cash. We want them to go tell their story about the fun time they had, keep the money. If you do want to donate, that's fine. So he donated, I think it was $3,000 of his chips back. Just 3,000 raw dollars, not play chips, but $3,000, and gave me a little hug and said, "I love what you're doing. Keep doing it." And so those little emotional bursts from unexpected people, it just sort of, and even my wife and I talk about it, it sort of drives me to keep doing this. Not that I need to be motivated, but when you see the reward of, where you give the money and you see the end result, a couple parents say, my son is now reading. He can now read words. And, it's just amazing to see the emotion. We saw it when Michael was growing up, that Michael was sort of learning, at 18 months, he could speak words, and then he didn't say anything until he was 4 again, back in therapy. Once he got going into therapy, then he could start to speak words again. So, we've lived a lot of what these parents have gone through, but to hear them come up and tell you their personal story and know that you need to keep doing this to give back this money, because, in the end, unfortunately, money does a lot for this cause. So whether it's for therapy, whatever it is. So there's a million things they need help with. And what we try and do is just help them. So the two kind of surprises to me were the emotion of sort of, I guess, getting to people or getting to parents, and receiving these little things back from these groups. Just, I don't know, it just sort of makes me feel good that, we're doing good things and we need to keep doing those. So I guess short answer there. So, yep.
That's great. And yeah, the Tressel family special. I was lucky enough to play football for Jim's father for 2 years. And I must have been graduated for 10, maybe 15 years. And they had something for Jim Tressel at BW, my alma mater. And I tried to introduce myself to Jim. And he says, "Pete, don't you dare introduce yourself to me. I already know you." He goes, "My dad used to talk about you." And yeah, special.
He is a special guy. And, it's kind of funny how Youngstown State invites me up to a football game, because we donate to them. And what's really funny is that they donated $500 back to the charity this year because they truly believe in what we're doing. I talked to the foundation guy and I said, "Why are you donating back to us? I know it's only $500. He goes, "We love what you're doing, Doug. Keep doing it." And,
Wow.
we're not even donating to Youngstown State this year. We rotated them out this year. We might rotate them back, but, that's how passionate they are about what we're doing to help their families.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's so funny. And now Tress is retired, and,
Yeah.
I've gotten to know him and he knows me a little bit, and it's just fun. And he keeps telling me, "Doug, just keep doing it." I'll tell you another funny story. So personally, I was in Vegas in December, sort of right after COVID started a couple of years ago. And my wife and another couple and I were just walking through, I think it was Caesars. And lo and behold, we ran right into Jim and Ellen Tressel, like just totally out of the blue. I said, "Tress, what are you doing here?" And he said, "I'm going to the College Hall of Fame induction for Mike Doss from Ohio State." And at the very end of the short conversation, he goes, "Doug, just keep doing your fundraising for autism." For him to remember,
Wow.
his connection to me. Again, that's our connection. But, he's going to just freaky thing, College Hall of Fame induction in Vegas at that moment at Caesars, walking down an aisle. And then we bang into each other. He remembers, who my face is. And it's just kind of funny how those things happen. But he's a great guy and great for the cause.
He is a great guy. And his mom told me that he has a photographic memory. And he literally, like, he does care deeply, but he literally has a photographic memory. Chris, go ahead and pull that back up. Let's read that. Texas Mattress Barn. Could you list the website for donations? I'm not a Vegas kind of guy. Hey, Glenn, I'm not a Vegas kind of guy either.
It's funny how there's not a lot, but there's a bunch of folks that, just don't gamble, and don't drink and don't smoke. And I love it. So, the fact that we have to have the market in Vegas, I do gamble a little bit, but it's so sort of ironic how in Vegas and I'm having a poker tournament for charity. But yeah, so if you want to go to anteforautism.com, just click in the upper right button, hit donate, and then donate whatever you'd like to. We'd love to have you donate. So again, our sponsorship levels start at $500. They go to $1,000, $2,500, $5,000, $10,000. And then like 3Z Brands is the final table sponsor, and Bedding Industries of America is the presenting sponsor. So we have multiple levels. The first two are sold out for those specific things, but whether it's diamond, platinum, gold, silver level, we'd love to have you be a sponsor, or just donate whatever you'd like to. That's fine.
Great question. Thank you for asking.
And Pete, while we're sort of in a lull, if I can do it, I would like to thank the sponsors so far that have jumped in. Number one, to start with Stu Carlitz, Bedding Industries of America, at $25,000 presenting sponsor. Stu, thank you, and Phil and Jared. Final table sponsors, 3Z Brands. The $10,000 diamond sponsors, Liggett and Platt, Furniture First. Our $5,000 platinum sponsors, Ashley Furniture. I just was emailing with Todd Wanick. And, who am I to Todd Wanick? They're a $6 or $7 billion company. But you know what? Todd came to, a couple of our events, bought a bunch of our silent auction stuff, has been a great sponsor for us. I thanked him for sponsoring again. And a couple minutes later, here comes an email back from Todd. Keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate you representing autism in the industry. And, again, I can't thank Todd and Ashley Furniture enough for what they've done. So Ashley, Carpenter Foam, Mike McQuiston, one of our co-hosts, big guy over at Carpenter, Carl and Kathy Glassman. Carl Glassman is now back at Liggett and Platt, kind of running the show again. But Carl, for probably 10, 12 years now, has jumped in personally and then got Liggett involved. I can't thank Carl and Kathy both. They've been to the event, big supporters of what we do. We appreciate them. TD Retail Card Services, Chris and his group. We have an anonymous donation from within the mattress group. Can't tell you who, but they're a big company in the industry, but they wanted it anonymous, which I totally understand. Tom over at Plan Furniture Promotions, PFP. They've been with us for a long time. Appreciate Tom and his group. Pete, you and Jenny as $2,500 sponsors, at the gold level. Thank you guys for what you do. Again, I know you have a personal connection, but to jump in and sponsor and do it for many years now, we really appreciate what you're doing. Intermountain Health, Kokonas Furniture at $2,500. Got a lot of silver $1,000 sponsors. Start with Big Sandy Superstore. I've known Robbie Van Hoos for a long time. He and Trey have been sponsors for a long time. Great people. Paywick, Dr. Joyce Kaysen out in Vegas. High Risk Pregnancy Centers of Vegas. Brian over there. He's been a sponsor for a long time. We appreciate what he does. We got Roger Magowitz, Daniken, they're private, foam products they do, SmartFlex, Customatic Technologies. Again, Phil McCarthy, I just was emailing back and forth with Phil. He's been a sponsor for several years. Appreciate what he does. Box Drop, Jerry Williams at RSS. Appreciate them. Bronze sponsors, Youngstown State University Foundation, Built Right, Educare for You, and Colonial. Educare for You actually is a unique group. That's actually my brother's company. He has several companies, but he's a big pharmacist, master's degree. They do a lot of educational seminars, I'll call them. They do a lot of things, but what I like, one of the special things that my brother does and his group does is they help companies understand drug interactions. So everybody from a pharmacist to companies that own pharmacies, they educate those folks about don't do the bad things of interacting drugs. Don't allow doctors to wrongly prescribe interacting drugs that shouldn't be interacted with. And, it does impact a lot of folks on the autism spectrum that, they take medications and really you rely on your pharmacist to make sure that whatever your doctors are prescribing, they do it correctly. So I appreciate my brother jumping in and sponsoring this year, and Colonial, big top of bed company, and they do a bunch of things. So I appreciate them. And I also don't want to forget our special donations. Liggett, they do the banners for us. Temper Sealy has donated a couple of beds for us. We raised a lot of money with that silent auction. The Layout Company, that's the gentleman, Christian, who does all our table felts for all the tables. There's one behind me that's hanging. They donate those at no cost. He does them, takes them over. They put them on the tables. Appreciate that. SmartFlex donated adjustable base. And the last but not least, certainly, is RNA Marketing. RNA Marketing does this website. Kevin and Kyle Dorn, Their dad sort of started, helping me with some stuff, and they've jumped in. They do everything on the website. They're a great marketing organization. They do websites. They do, marketing work, advertising work for a lot of different companies. They do fantastic work, and I really appreciate what they do for us. So I know it's a long list, and there's going to be many more before we hit the poker tournament itself. But I do have to thank all those folks, and RNA really kind of leads the charge on that. So
awesome.
Appreciate that.
So Doug, we've got some furniture and mattress stores that are some are having a very challenging year. Some are doing better than others. You've been at this for over 42 years. What is your advice? Like, what do they need to stop doing? What do they need to start doing? Games changed over the years from like when we started in the 80s, and just go ahead and wade into that.
I tell you, it's interesting you asked me that question, but I was just, not to tout one of my sponsors, but Furniture First just had a symposium for their members. And at that symposium, I got to know, the RNA guys a little bit better, a couple of other, marketing groups a little bit better. Because quite frankly, 20 years ago, I could say, here's what you need to spend on newspaper. Here's what you spend on TV. Here's what you spend on radio, direct mail. I would know exactly the formula just from the marketing standpoint, what you need to do. Honestly, I don't know the formula, how to spend your money right now. And that's where I was picking RNA's brain and a couple other folks. What should people do? And, for each market, it is a little bit different. And quite frankly, I do think right now you need professional help to figure out where to spend whatever dollars you're spending on a marketing advertising program for your company in mattress and furniture. I could say, you need to do TV, and you need to do, again, in your market, maybe some radio, and you've got to do direct mail. But, there's so much more with the digital world out there with, Facebook and social media. Yeah. My company that I represent, 3Z Brands, there's so many things that they're doing with digital that I don't even understand exactly everything they're doing. I know conceptually what they do, but I couldn't advise you do what we do because I don't know exactly what it is that they're doing. But, I can tell you a company like RNA Marketing, they know what's going on and what we're doing. So, whether it's RNA or another marketing group in your area, there's a lot of good ones. If you need advice, quite frankly, go to the Facebook page and ask for advice there. And either they're going to chime in or somebody's going to recommend somebody that you should talk to. And I would tell you, don't just talk to one, talk to several of them. And I can give you recommendations, but RNA, I will mention because I know specifically what they're doing for me. I will recommend them. And there's a couple other I would recommend off the record. If you private direct mail me or email me, I will tell you a couple others I would recommend. But, I don't have the magic formula. I don't have that answer. I would tell you this, though, even if the market is off 5%, maybe it's off 10% right now. There's still 90, 95% of the market that's out there every day. And I heard Mark Kinsley talk about it just on his email that he sent out yesterday. There's business being had every day. There's 10% of the market out there at any given time is looking for a mattress. The consumers are still shopping. So do something that will stand out from your competitors in your market, or even if you're online, you've got to differentiate yourself in some way. And whatever way that is, get with your marketing team and figure that out and promote that, because that's what's making you different from the next guy down the street or online that you're competing against. So get professional support and help, because I don't have, and Pete, I don't know if you would say this or not, but I don't know the magic formula right now. If you had $100,000 to spend on marketing, I have directions I would send you, but I don't have exactly where you should spend that money. And I do think now more than ever, and it wasn't this way 25 years ago. Pete, you probably did advertising plans for people like I did, and you tell them exactly where to spend that money. Yep. I can't do that. I feel terrible, but I can't. But I think I would advise, go to RNA, go to another marketing group, and get professional help. So, I wish I could say, here's the answer. I just don't have the answer. But I will say that, again, even if the market's off 10%, which I don't think it's off 10%, but it's off a little bit, traffic is down a little bit. And again, some markets are worse than others, but overall it is off a little bit. Brick and mortar, it is. Even online, it is. It's off a little bit. You got to keep spending, because if you don't spend, you're not going to get any. So keep doing what you're doing. Be smart about what you're doing. Tweak it and look at your results. Don't just spend money and not look at the results. No, if you're sending direct mail out, track if it's a direct mail postcard having a mattress sale. If you put a mattress that you're featuring, did you sell any of that mattress? Did that mattress serve the purpose of what you did or wanted to do on your direct mail piece? Or, TV, did you feature certain things? Track it. Keep track, to your book. Follow through, analyze, and, evaluate what your success is. And quite frankly, if you have a failure, learn from it. So that's sort of my long answer on that one.
No, I think it's a great answer. And, you made me laugh because, we used to have quarterly meetings when I was at CERTA, and we'd get our VLOX sheets of the ads. And then, for most of my little guys, I used to have a meeting with them. I would fill everything out, and I'd have them sign off on it, and then I would place the ads for them.
I was going to say, I used to take the ads in the newspaper a long time ago.
I did too.
That's what you would do.
Yeah, that's what I did. I literally ran the business, and like I would show to them what we've done before, what my recommendation is, if there's somebody new in the market. But, guys, it's off. There's no doubt that it's off. But some guys are up. And they're really up, and you really need to look at what those guys are doing. The Scott Vaughns at Happy Z's, you need to look at what they're doing. The Jeff Janakovos at Gardner's Mattress and More, Joey Amato at Rock and Roll City Mattress in Cleveland. Watch what these people are doing. Tyler Rich in Fairmont, West Virginia, up dramatically. I mean, crazy up. And you need to pick these people's brains. One of the things that I said at the very top of this show was about the Mattress Industry Network group. You don't have to be alone, and you shouldn't be alone. And one of the things that I talk about in my book, and I talk about constantly, is be involved in your community. Don't be involved in your community because I told you to, because it's going to make you money. Be involved in your community because you really should be thankful to be part of a community that's supporting your business. Like, do it from your heart, and you'll be amazed at the good things that happen from that. So evaluate the results, track to the best of your ability. And this is sometimes what I get. Well, there's no way to track. There's always a way to track. Some are better than others. Separated, having a special giveaway that's only in one media. Only on your Facebook ads did you do a free bed frame. I'm just pulling something out. How creative can you get, right? You can do it that way. The oldest way in the book is take a big calendar and just mark down every time you have ads running, mark down your daily volume. And if nothing else, go by that. But track to the best of your ability. Try to have unique offers that exactly where they came from. And I agree, Doug, there was a formula once upon a time. It doesn't exist. And I will, I think the guys at RNA are great. I've always heard good things about them. Jeff Janakovo with his new MRT program. You can join it for $7 for 7 days and test drive it and see if it's something you want to do. After that, it's a whopping $99 a month or $97 a month. So,
does Randy Thompson still do his training on adjustables?
Yeah, Randy does.
Look at your attachment rate on adjustables.
uh,
For less customers, raise your ticket. I mean, I know people talk about that, but go ask Randy for help on adjustables. I mean, he knows what he's talking about. I mean, he's the expert on selling adjustables. And,
so,
guys like Rick Lynch in Indianapolis, he knows how to sell adjustables. Talk to Rick. I mean, people that are the experts, go to them, get their advice and find out what they're doing, to raise their ticket, to get more, whatever it is, drive traffic, raise ticket,
yeah.
Those successes Pete was just talking about. Talk to those guys and they'll probably share, if you're not directly in their market, what's working and what isn't. So, most of those guys I know, and they're great people.
They are. They're great guys. And so, I drove to Kentucky for Scott Vaughn's big event that Scott put on. And I forget if we had 25. I think I was right around 25 dealers there. Who's there? Randy Thompson's there.
Yeah.
Who's there? Jeff Janakovo's there.
Yeah.
Like guys who are so good at what they do that you go, man, they don't need to be here, but they're there and they're taking notes furiously more than the guy. And there were some guys there that were only in the business for 6 months. I was so jealous. I'm like, oh my Lord, I wish I would have been in a room like this when I had just gotten into the business. I mean, listen, I was super, super, super blessed. I got to work for Bob Sherman for 3 years before he, couldn't even, he looked at me one time in the car and he goes, Pete, do you realize? He goes, we have 3 factories now and we're going to have a lot more. And he goes, do you realize that you might be one of the last reps that I ever personally train? And I said, I never thought of it that way. So here's a funny one. You'll love this. He looks at me around 2:00. He goes, so how many more? Oh, we got a few more. He goes, ha, I know what you're doing. I go, what am I doing? He goes, you're just working me to the bone so I never come out with you again. And I said, Bob, I swear to everything that's holy. This is what I do every day, brother. This is what I do. This is what and he
having competed against you, Pete, it is what you do.
Yeah. It is what I do, sadly, but it's not
sad. I mean,
it's not work for me. So you got to understand something. I'm in college, I'm playing football, and I felt super poor when I was growing up. I wasn't super poor, but I felt super poor because we had 4 kids and, the answer was always no. And I always, as a teenager, wanted the answer to be yes. So I wanted another pair of jeans. No, you got to get a job. So I couldn't have 1 paper route. I had to have 3, right? So, so I am tearing cards out at an American Greeting Cards factory job. And your hands are getting little paper cuts and they're bleeding. And you get a break like every hour for 10 minutes or something. And, you got to put Band-Aids on your hands. And I'm like, that was work. I haven't worked in years. I mean, sometimes when I'm in a hotel room, I'm way away from my family, that part's work. But basically I drive around, I show my friends how to make money with my lines and I get paid for it. It's like being in the mafia and never having to break a leg, right? It's like unbelievable. And so I've been very, very thankful. And I have to say this, of all the reps I've competed against, Doug, you are absolutely the toughest. And the funny thing is, you absolutely have a heart of gold, what you've been doing with this great charity for so long. And, the things that you do with dealers. I mean, like I said, I think I tell you once a year, I feel you. I know where you've been and I know where you're going. And I see what you do. And it's like that damn Doug. He just never stops. He's like the Energizer Bunny.
well, believe me, I've felt you many a times as well. What's kind of funny, I just had my mid-year review with my boss. And I said, I just turned 64. And he goes, you're not leaving, are you? You're not retiring or doing anything like that. I said, why do I retire? Because basically what you just said, I still get a kick out of it. I still enjoy the challenge and whatever. So it's still, so for right now, for the next at least month, I'm not going to retire. So, yeah.
Marnie Kirby. Marnie says, Marnie, I am so happy to see your success. I just could not be happier for anybody. Marnie says, this is great, Doug. After being a therapist in neuro rehab with some time in schools, along with how it has touched my family, it's wonderful to see the incredible amount of support available now. Yes.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's still much more things we'd like to do, but you're right. I mean, 24 years ago, we figured out Michael's situation. I mean, it was 1 in 10,000 kids had it. Now it's 1 in 36, but the amount of support that's out there has grown infinitely more than I thought it would. But when you push hard and people listen, good things happen. And Marnie, I appreciate you mentioning that. So it's better than it was. It needs to be better, but we're working on it. So that's great. So, yep.
Steve Howe just registered to play. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you. Scott Vaughn, we had over 400 years of experience in that room for 3 days. Yes, we did. That was a great, great, great group. And I got to tell you something. You scared the crap out of me at the beginning, Scott. You said there's one person who doesn't belong here, and then you point to me. I'm like, what do you mean I don't belong here? I thought I was going to get expelled and give him my money back and sent home. But thank you for everything you do, Scott, for our industry and for people in general. And Doug, I can't believe it. Our time's almost over. I'm supposed to give you the last 10 minutes. So I'm going to give you the last 3 minutes, my friend. What would you like to say to our people?
Well, I do want to mention our 5 charities. So there's some really, really expert people at working at these places. So Cincinnati Children's Hospital, it's the Kelly O'Leary Center for Autism Spectrum Disorders. Myra Stone, one of my co-hosts, she's been a huge person. She represents Ashley, but she has a son that has utilized the services there. They do tremendous work there. Grant a Gift Autism Foundation, the Ackerman Center in Las Vegas. Again, what they'll do is they'll grant you, money if you want to go to a conference. You need money for therapy. They do great work. So kudos to them. National Autism Association of Southeast Ohio. That's the Kokonis group. Those folks are in Southeast Ohio. And anywhere in the country, if you need help, you need financial help, you need to go to a conference, your family needs to go somewhere for therapy, contact Shannon Kokonis there. They will be able to help you. Stock Hands Horses for Healing. I mentioned them before. They're in Delaware County, Ohio. My son rides horses there. So they do equine therapy, but Pete, you'll get a kick out of this. So they do tremendous work for veterans, first responders. They deal with veterans and first responders for PTSD issues. They help them overcome their issues, either riding horses, taking care of the horses. They have veterans groups, first responders groups. They do a lot of work. And quite frankly, the autism piece is a small piece, but an important piece for what they do. And they're expanding. So I'm helping them, do their capital campaign to do what they do better. And also we have Autism Speaks. They do great work. They're the biggest entity out there. The little pin that I showed before, that's Autism Speaks. They're huge advocates in the country, worldwide. They do the walks in major cities. They raise awareness. They provide money for therapy, funding, and they help create autism centers across the country that'll also help you get diagnosed for whatever therapy you need. So those are the 5 charities. They all do great work. We're constantly evaluating new ones. I have a couple for next year. I think we're going to rotate in that do great work. So we're always bringing new ones in and kicking some of them out, but we want to work in everybody we can. So appreciate that last pitch on the charities themselves, because that's why we do it. We do it for them to help the families, the kids, the adults on the spectrum. So I know we're just about at an hour, and hey, I appreciate it. And that's what we're all about, is helping everybody else.
Doug, somebody who wants to reach out to you, they've been touched by this, they want to reach out to you, maybe talk to you, engage you. What's the best way?
It's really antiforautism@aol.com. Just email me there. That's the email right there. Thank you, Chris. Or you can call me. Feel free to call me on my cell at 614-554-0802 or text me if you want to. But email is probably the easiest way because then I can, send you attachments or send you whatever information I can do to help you. So, yep, either way works.
Chris Stone,
He's
you
quick.
are the best I've ever seen in my life. Thank you for being my producer. Doug, I'm sorry that this time went by so fast. If we didn't cover something, let me know and we'll try to figure out how to get the word out there. But thank you for all you do for our industry, and thank you for all you do for autism.
Well, Pete, again, if it's just once a year, that's too little, but I appreciate seeing you again, and appreciate being on your show. You do great work. I wish I could watch all of them. I can't, but I'll own up to that. But I love them, and I really appreciate when you do stuff like this. And again, I know you're personally connected, but I really appreciate the hour once a year to talk about what we're doing ahead of what we do. I look forward to seeing everybody in Vegas. Safe travels to everybody, and hopefully we'll have a great poker event, and it'll go well and help a lot of people. So thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Sell a million.